Yvette, and I'm going to try to get week 1 of the A Day in May Mystery Quilt by Fort Worth Fabric Studio done for you today and posted tonight. That's my goal. So I was told that this is that the week 1 blocks are the hardest ones to make. Okay, so if we can get through this, we're in the home stretch. So we're going to have 4 petal blocks that we are making, and we're going to make 4 stem blocks. Sounds to me like we're making some flowers. I'm not really sure. So what we're going to do is, okay, so I did read the notes, and I started to sort of look at the petal block assembly. So the notes say, the petal block requires precise cutting and sewing. This will be the most difficult block on the quilt. Please read all instructions carefully. Iron after stitching each seam. We highly recommend starching all the pieces before sewing and when you iron a seam. This will help your blocks come out more precise. You can use simple Niagara starch from a discount store or use Mary Ellen's Best Press. Okay, so when I am cutting fabric, personally, I starch everything, and I use Best Press. So all of my blocks or pieces are already, they're already starched. So I'm perfectly ready for that. And so let's get started with the petal block assembly. It says, use the Fort Worth Fabric Studios Make 8 method to make 16 half square triangle blocks. And the way we're going to do that is, and as you can see, I have labeled, oops, I'm going to have to get some more light over here. I have labeled all of my pieces that I have cut with some Alphabitties, and I will put a link down below. It's my affiliate link with Amazon. That way you know exactly what they are. You do not have to use them. You can make your own letters if you'd like, and just something that you can label the way they want you to label as you cut. Okay? Okay, so what we're going to do, first I'm going to get some light. Hold on. I should have moved this over before I started. Okay. Woo! And then there was light. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our R fabric and our N fabric. Okay? And we are going to we're going to take each one and we're going to put them right sides together. Okay? I'm going to mark on this side just because I think it'll be easier to see. And as I had said whenever I was telling everyone about these blocks, or the mystery quilt, it was recommended that we could get this OmniGrid rulers, and there's a set of 3, and all you have to do is from each point you want to line up the yellow line, and then you can just draw a line on either side, and you don't have to keep marking, right? So you'll already be set. So we're going to mark it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go step by step. Try to make sure I got that line exactly where I want it to be. Okay. And I'm just going to hold it with my hand. I should have probably put it on my round thing, but that's okay. So then I'm going to take my friction pen, use whatever it is that you like to use to mark, and you're going to mark a 1/4 inch from that center line, which this ruler is perfect because you get a 1/4 inch on either side. So I'm just going to mark it on this side first, and then I'm going to mark the other side. It doesn't have to be super dark, just so you can see it, because it'll iron right off. Okay, and as you can see, hopefully you can see that, I've got my lines drawn there. I'm going to do the same for the other side. I did say that it's very important to be precise, so I'm trying very hard to be precise. And personally, I am going to sew all of this with a scant 1/4 inch. And I'll explain that in just a minute. I seem to have a hard time concentrating on doing this, marking the line and not moving and talking about other stuff. Okay, so now I've got all of those done, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some, well, if I don't throw them all on the floor, I'm going to take some binder clips and just hold the 4 sides so that it doesn't move. You don't really need to do a whole bunch, just I just do one on each piece like this, just so it doesn't move. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the machine. I'm going to sew on all 4 of these lines, and then I'll come back and we are going to cut straight down the middle and straight down the middle. Now, what I was saying about the scant 1/4 inch is a scant 1/4 inch is what we do to make sure that our blocks, if anything, are bigger than they're supposed to be rather than smaller. Because if your block is smaller, there's no way for you to fix that. If it's too big, you can trim it down, which we're going to have to do after we make these anyway. So in order to do or to sew a scant 1/4 inch, where I have these lines, I am going to sew just to the, I'm going to sew to the outside of this line, or inside the middle. I'm going to go to the other side of the line toward the middle. Other side of this line toward the middle. Other side of each of these lines toward the middle. And what that's going to do is it's going to add just that scant bit of space. We're taking into consideration the thickness of our pin. We're taking into consideration the thickness of our needle. And so that's kind of what we do and how we would sew a scant 1/4 inch. So I'm going to get these done and I'll come right back and show you the next step. Okay guys, so I am back and I have finished sewing the stitches on the lines, and as you can see, if you can see, I did stitch just slightly inside the lines toward the center, just to give it that scant 1/4 inch as best I can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take all of my binder clips off. Those were just basically making sure that the squares didn't move while I was sewing. And then I am going to take a ruler that's long enough. Here, this one will be long enough. Okay. And I'm going to, the line that I have drawn on here, I'm just, either side, it really doesn't matter which one, I'm just going to put my 1/4 inch line on it, and I'm going to trim down the middle. And I'm going to do the same the other way. I could have put it on my rotary, I have one of those cutting boards that rotates, but this isn't that bad. Okay, so now we have, well, if we've cut properly, oh, there we go. We have 4 triangles. Is this correct? Oh, okay. And then we have to cut. Okay, I'm not even reading the whole thing. So what we're also going to do is you'll have it this way. I wasn't even thinking. And then we're going to cut here and here, and that's going to get us 8 of the half square triangles from this one. So all I have to do is I'm going to, where my lines meet, here and here, I'm just going to make sure that my ruler goes straight down the middle there, and make sure that it's lined up on the outside as well. See, so I can see that this ruler is lined up right here on the edge, And it's just lucky that this is a 3.5 inch ruler and it goes straight down. So I just got lucky on that one. But I'm just going to trim that. And then same this way. I'm going to see that it's lined up. And let's see, is that lined up there? Looks pretty lined up to me. Okay. And then I'm going to cut that way. All right, so now we have 8. And they want us, let's just do the other one. Well, no, I'll just do that off camera. That way the video is not that long. What they want us to do is iron all of the pieces or press all of the pieces toward the purple side. And so just remember that the first thing we're going to want to do is press this seam. And that is for 2 things. One is to just get rid of the friction line that we have if you used a friction pin like I did. It also will close your seams up. It sets your seam is what it does. As when we're sewing, we're punching holes in our fabric. And so when you set the seam, which basically just press it just like this, it helps to close up those holes with the heat. Now, whatever side you want to press toward, you want to put that side face up. So we'll put it here, and then that way, when we fold this up and then press right here, you'll be pressed toward the purple, or toward the dark side, as we like to say. So just remember, purple side face up means that you are pressing to the purple. Okay? So I will go ahead and finish cutting this. Press those squares, they will be squares, and I'll be right back for the next step. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm having to like sort of redo this part of the video because this was kind of a learning curve for me, but now that I got it, I think I can show it to you to where it'll be very simple for you as well. Okay, so this is the first time I have ever used a block lock ruler, and this ruler was recommended by Fort Worth Fabric Studio. It's not required, but I have to tell you, it does make it easier. So if you have a block lock ruler, you might want to pull it out right now. Okay, so I have already pressed my squares, and I have pressed toward the purple. And so when you are using a block lock ruler, you want to take the side that has been pressed toward, and you want to put it on the top. And you're going to put the side that has no pressing to the low side. And then you're going to take the logo, and you want the logo to be on the side, on the low side. So that's easy to remember. Low logo, low logo. Okay, so then when you set it down, and I'll push it up just a little bit, you're going to push there's a line underneath there, and it goes right against your seam. Now, when you are going to be moving it to trim, or to make your first trim, you don't want to press down really hard, okay? You just want to, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it so that I'll be able to trim a little bit easier anyway. And you're just going to very lightly pull it down, and my cutting board is warped, so I might have to hold the fabric a little bit. You shouldn't have to do that though, as long as you have like decent equipment, not like me. Okay, so I'm gonna pull it down. I'm just gonna pull this up a little bit so I'll be able to trim. Okay. Now we are going to be trimming these down to 2 1/8 inch squares. And I had to actually give Jody a call over at Fort Worth Fabric Studio because I was thinking, wow, I'm trimming off like a lot of fabric. And she says, yes, that is true. And the reason why is because this gives all of us a little bit of leeway so that if our squares have turned out a little bit smaller than they should, we'll still have plenty of fabric there that we can make our trim and get 2 1/8 inch squares. So I thought that was very generous of them to do it because like she told us in the instructions, this is probably the hardest squares that we are going to have to make for the whole project. So they kind of erred on the side of giving us extra fabric to work with just in case. Okay, so I was doing it correctly, because I was getting like these little bitty squares. I'm thinking there's no way. But yes, that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, so if you're using a block lock ruler, what you're going to want to do is you're going to make the first cut. And the reason why we're cutting both sides is because you want to make sure that you're getting a very straight line on all four sides, okay? So we're going to start on this first side. And what we're going to do is, we know that right here, you're probably not close enough, but I can tell you right here where my fingernail is 2 1/8, okay? So we still have like a good 1/2 inch right there that we will be cutting off. When you are trimming this side, you just want to make sure that once, like if I trim this piece off right now, I'll still be able to go down and still cut off that much to get down to 2 1/8. So you just want to make sure you still have fabric to the other side of the seam that you're going to end up cutting on the other direction, okay? So, yes, we are cutting off quite a bit, but that's just because she allowed us to have a little bit extra. Okay, so I'm going to trim this piece right here. And sorry if I block you right now, but... Okay, so I take that part off. The next step you're going to want to do is we are going to, right here where you have that shaded line where you're nesting into the seam, that line on either side is like a pivot point, okay? So you want to press down on those two edges, and we're going to rotate toward the fabric that has the seam, okay? So we're going to push down, and then we're going to rotate around, and I'm going to kind of go high because I need it to stay up there a little bit, right? And then you let go. Now once you've let that go, you're going to very lightly pull it down, and if anything, you'll push against that seam, and then you're going to bring it down. And like I said, I've got the warped board, you don't. You're going to want to make sure now that you're going all the way to this 2 1/8 inch. And I'm going to put that line, that 2 1/8 inch line, right on the edge. Right? Then move it just a second, dip just a smidge, and then trim. Okay, so if you're seeing and you're going, well, see, that's what happens whenever, I'll probably need to change my blade too, even though I just did it, so I should be okay. It's just because I'm going all funky. Okay, so yes, we are getting down to that small of a square. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish those up, and it's getting quite late here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do week 1 in 2 parts. I'll get this part posted up just so that you can see, and then tomorrow I'll go ahead and I'll finish the petal block assembly, and then I'll do the stem block assembly, which looks a little bit easier. So and hopefully I'll be getting out of work a little bit earlier too, so give me plenty of time. I will finish these up, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.